Welcome back tuning into today's video. Just going to have a run through a few things on this Sunday afternoon. It's a lovely day actually, so once you've done this, once you've watched this video, get out in the sunshine and enjoyed it. It really is a very nice day indeed. We had some rain in the northeast, but it'll be clearing away through the course of this afternoon. As I say, we're going to have a run through a few things and have a look at the central temperature, see how January is shaping up just at the moment, and then we'll go on and have a look at a few things like the stratosphere, stuff like that. Just a general sort of leisurely Sunday afternoon musing. Now, before I get on with the video, I just want to talk about the advertising. There's video ads on my pages at gazworthbiz.com. Hit play on the video ad, you'll be supporting gazworthbiz.com. Thanks very much for doing that. It does make a big difference to the website. It pays the website basically, so thanks very much for getting involved and supporting gazworthbiz.com. So we're going to start off by having a look at the current central England temperature from Hadley at the UK Met Office. This is where we're standing for January. This is provisional to the 17th of January, and we see that we're currently at 6.3 degrees in terms of central temperature, which is an anomaly of 2.8 degrees above average. So a very, very mild January, very warm January so far. Not record breaking. Don't think we're going to threaten the all-time record, which was set in 1916, but certainly a very, very mild start to 2014. This has been. So when was the last time we had January as mild as this? Well, we've got to go back to 2008 or 2007. Actually, 2008 comes out at 6.6. 2007 comes out at 7.0. And at the time, it was the warmest January, I think, since around 1921. But to go back to the all-time record, you have to go right the way back to 1916, which comes out at 7.5 degrees, or came out at 7.5 degrees, the all-time warmest January on the CET record back to 1659, one of the longest standing and oldest records in the central England temperature index. So we're not going to beat that. We're not going to beat 1916. It's certainly going to be a very mild January. It's probably going to be the mildest since either 2008 or 2007, probably 2008 actually, but a very mild January anyway. And incidentally, the last time we had a January coming out below freezing in terms of central temperature was way back in 1979, a long time ago. Came out at 0.4 degrees minus, I should say, minus 0.4 degrees. Long time ago, and we are due a really cold January, to be honest. We did have quite a cold month in 2010, but it didn't come out below freezing. January 2010 came out at 1.4 degrees. It was a very cold month, but it wasn't below freezing, and we are due probably any time a really cold January that's below freezing. I suspect it could happen at some point within the next decade. So yeah, we're due a very cold January, but it certainly won't be this one. Have a look at the Arctic Oscillation. Remember, the Arctic Oscillation is an index reflecting the state of the atmosphere over the North Pole. It's not driving anything, it's just an index that sort of reflects what's going on in the atmosphere. The black line is where the Arctic Oscillation has been, the red line is where it's forecast to go, and this is what we're looking at up here, of course. We're actually below average. We're negative in terms of the Arctic Oscillation at the moment. The Arctic Oscillation has gone negative through the middle of January, which is telling us we've got quite a lot of blocking up over the pole. You wouldn't really believe it, considering how mild it's been through this January, but the blocking is there. It's just it's on the wrong side of the pole to deliver us cold weather. Now the red line is telling us that, or red lines are telling us that the Arctic Oscillation is going to stay negative, so we're going to keep blocking over the pole for a little while. But eventually we get towards February, and this is February 1st just here, we are seeing many of the members of the ensemble going back into positive territory. So we're probably going to lose some of the blocking over the pole as we move towards the end of January and the start of February. That's quite remarkable to see that the Arctic Oscillation has been negative. We have had blocking over the pole through January, but we've been in the wrong position to get cold air from that blocking. And of course, that's the key factor. It's not necessarily whether you get blocking, whether you don't get blocking. It's where that blocking is sitting exactly as to who gets the cold and who is on the mild side of the block. And this January, certainly, we have been on the warm side of the block. The stratospheric temperature over the North Pole showing that we've been very, very cold with the stratosphere. So that as well is quite remarkable, because we have had a really cold stratosphere this winter, but we have managed to generate quite a lot of blocking up over the pole. I say on the wrong side of the pole to give us cold weather, but there has been cold weather filtering down to mid-latitudes, particularly Northern America. Stratospheric temperature is coming up now at 30 HPA over the pole. It's beginning to lift up. Of course, the grey line here shows that we do start to see the stratosphere beginning to warm up now as we move out through the rest of winter and on into spring and into the summer. We get a general upwards trend in the temperature, and that is taking place, but we're still well below average. We're well below the grey line. And look how cold it got right at the end of the year, right at the end of 2013. It got severely cold in the stratosphere, virtually off the scale. But as I say, the stratospheric temperature is coming back up now, still below average, and that's sort of telling us that we've got the polar vortex churning away over Greenland. Certainly, that isn't helping us to get some cold weather. But as I say, we have had blocking through the course of this winter, even with that very cold stratosphere. So that's quite interesting how that's occurred. And the 500 millibar height anomaly flow charts do show that for the next 8 to 10 days we're going to keep a lot of blocking up over the pole. The red colours are showing this, linking towards an area of high pressure around Alaska, but right over the North Pole, lots of blocking there, lots of red colours, and that sort of drives this trough down into the east of the United States, and that's where all the cold air has been going this winter, down into the east of the states. It continues to do so. Just strengthens the jet stream as that cold air runs out over the Atlantic, and then the jet stream delivers us the areas of low pressure that have been driving this very wet winter. Also, the area of high pressure around the Azores has been very strong this winter. That's kept the North Atlantic Oscillation generally in neutral to positive territory. That hasn't helped either. So basically, we've had everything going against us this winter to be able to generate cold weather. All the cold has been in the States and over Canada. It's just enhanced the jet stream. The blocking that has set up over the pole through January hasn't quite been in the right position. Had a very strong Azores high. And a really strong jet stream, and it's all just come together really to deprive us so far of any cold weather. But there is still time to get some colder conditions. Now the forecast for the stratospheric temperature is beginning to show that we may see some sort of warming take place over the stratosphere. Don't want to talk about this too much because I mentioned it around Christmas time that there was stratospheric warming being forecast. It didn't come to anything. We've got another one beginning to show up here. So let's just quickly run through this as we go through to the end of January, around the 30th, on into the 31st of January. Big warm-up starting to take place there over Siberia. Trying to infiltrate into the North Pole. It does actually manage to push the polar vortex further south-southeast. Doesn't split it, but a big warming does take place right at the end of January into the start of February over the Arctic. I'm not sure it quite comes out as a sudden stratospheric warming. I'm not sure it quite reaches the threshold for that, but it certainly is a big warming. It will certainly sort of knock the polar vortex over Greenland on the head a little bit. But it's a long way off. We're talking about sort of right at the extended range of the GFS model, and as with all the other charts at the extended range of the GFS model, it comes with a big health warning because it's a long way out, so don't take it too seriously, but it is just the idea as we're getting towards the end of January into February, time when the polar vortex should be starting to weaken, of course, anyway, as we begin to lose the contrast between the pole and the tropics, the temperature contrast. Just a suggestion that we might start to see some sort of warming over the stratosphere in the North Pole, and if that happens, it could just enhance the blocking. We already have blocking in place over the pole, of course, on the wrong side of the pole, at Atlantic side, to give us cold weather. It could sort of enhance it, and maybe it might begin to change the pattern as we move into February. But overall, there's no sign of anything particularly significant changing in terms of a pattern. So finally, we have a look at the generic charts. This is with GFS for Saturday 25th, bringing the low pressure in off the Atlantic. Got a nice Scandinavian high up there over Scandinavia. We're not far from a cold spell, but it's the Atlantic that's driving the pattern, driven by that very strong jet stream caused by the cold air coming out of America and the strong polar vortex. They're just clinging on like a limpet around Greenland. As we go through to Sunday and on into Monday, well, yeah, we bring some sort of colder air through around this area of low pressure. A bit of a cold snap could take place somewhere around Monday the 27th. But then the next area of low pressure looks like it just rolls through as we go through towards day 10. The 29th of January will bring more areas of low pressure in off the Atlantic. And overall, nothing really suggesting there's a dramatic change in the pattern taking place there. The ECMWF, again, bringing westerlies through at the weekend, so it will be quite mild. Could get some sort of cold snap from the northwest around Monday the 27th, probably bring some wintry showers into the north. And that could actually turn northerly as we go through to Tuesday the 28th. So that could bring cold air right down across the country, and maybe some snow showers even across eastern parts of the country on Tuesday the 28th. But by day 10, Wednesday the 29th, we're going back to the west again. Westerlies are returning. The polar vortex, the purple colours indicating that it's just clinging on over Greenland, not changing the pattern. And there's that very strong high pressure around the Azores, keeping those westerly winds going. So yesterday, it looked as though we could get some sort of cold snap at the end of the month and into the start of February, some sort of colder spell. We may still get a bit of a cold snap, but I don't think we're looking at a cold spell there. We're not really looking at anything that's breaking the pattern. And overall, there's no real sign of a pattern changing significantly yet. And we're just going to have to wait and see how long this is going to go on for. Eventually, it is going to break. We will get some high pressure, whether it comes from the south and we have a very mild spell, or from the north and we turn it cold. We've got to wait and see. But for the time being, it's staying unsettled. There's going to be more rain, and the westerlies just go on. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.